the presentation which is going to be made in the next 20-25 minutes by Mr. Yashas Arya, who is the founding member of this particular think tank. Yashas, let me congratulate you. Within a short span of time, you have been able to bring this forum today to such a forum that you have become an example for others to emulate. The quality of seminars which have been held, the quality of the research which has been done, has been promoted, is phenomenal. And I acknowledge that we have mentors like General Bhatia, General Chauhan, whose knowledge and the guidance has really allowed us to go onto the path where we are going. But as we say, there are miles to go before we sleep. And I'm sure you will apply your mind to deliver something tangible to this nation so that it becomes a great posterity for us. Yashas will be covering his talk. He will be giving us the vision of the Indic Researchers Forum, what it is. And then he will also give us an outline for what is going to be the publication about and how it came about. Before I hand over the floor to him, I have the honor of introducing Yashas very briefly. As I said, he is the founder member of this particular security think tank, Indic Researchers Forum, and he is the managing director of this particular forum. He is almost a single-handed army, I know that, but the amount of credible job he has done absolutely deserves kudos. Prior to his current assignment, he also worked on the counter-terrorism related projects. From December, he is quite knowledgeable. The way he has steered this particular forum really deserves a word of praise. Thank you, Yashas, and it's an honor for all of us to be associated with Indic Forum. The floor is yours. Kindly give us the vision for the Indic Researchers Forum and what is our publication is going to be all about. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Deshmukh sir, for the kind introduction. It is an honor to have such esteemed gifts for the launch of the inaugural edition of the 2.5 Front publication. I'm also grateful to Bhatia sir, Shaukin Chauhan sir, and Srinivasan sir for accepting the invitation, as well as for their, as usual, excellent presentations. I also want to congratulate everyone on the anniversary of Vijay Diwas. Since Satya has already briefly introduced our organization, so I'll directly jump into the presentation. Here I'll be talking about what IRF's understanding of 2.5 Front challenges are, and what we have done so far, and what we intend to do in the future. The future editions of this publication would be based on the idea which I shall be presenting today. And I'll be a bit honest, I will present some provocative ideas, so kindly bear with that. I'll directly start with the Pakistan challenge. I'll be quoting certain chapters from Indian history to basically understand what the problem of Pakistan is all about. So basically, when I talk about Pakistan, there are two viewpoints in the academic discussion. One is the stabilized approach, other is the destabilized approach. So what I mean by stabilized approach is that many security experts and scholars believe that a weak and unstable Pakistan would be detrimental for the peace and stability of the region, including India. So therefore, we must ensure that Pakistan should not fall apart. And other is another viewpoint that says that that a balkanized and a weak Pakistan is in India's best interest. Whenever Pakistan has been destabilized, India is at relative peace, and whenever Pakistan is at peace, India has been under attack. So I'll present this graph. So this chart, you can see, it refers to the Islamic terror attacks in India. It does not include Jammu and Kashmir. So you can see that there has been a decline in number of terror attacks post 2008, and after 2014, there has been a very drastic dip in the number of terror attacks. One obvious reason is that the current political dispensation is more seriously committed to national security. But there is also an interesting fact. And then you have this data of Kashmir. You can see that there is some sort of similarity. Also in Kashmir, the terror attacks have been in decline after probably 2008 and 9. So one very interesting fact that I came across, in fact, an interesting observation is that there has been a rapid increase in number of terror attacks in India when there has been a rapid decrease in number of terror attacks in India when there has been an increase in number of terror attacks, specifically after the creation of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. So this is a graph which tells about that. If you can see that after 2007 and 8, there has been a rapid increase in the spending of war on terror by Pakistan. So this is the same time when India has seen a decline in terrorism. So, well, all I can say is that to some extent, this graph does agree with the statement that when Pakistan has been under attack, India has been at relative peace. So, with this, I'll jump on to Pakistan's war on terror and what the idea of Pashtunistan is. As Sir has already mentioned, that I am closely working with the PTM leadership, and I certainly believe that this is one area that we have to sincerely focus. So, back in 2007, there was a raid at Lal Masjid, which is located in Islamabad. So most of the students of this masjid were from the Pashtun tribal areas, and they were actually running a parallel government which involved detaining individuals, running Sharia courts, which basically undermined the authority of Pakistan state. So the president of that time, General Musharraf, had ordered an operation which had almost killed students between 100 to 1000. So this was one very big factor that can be considered for the creation of Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan. So this is one picture where the militants were armed. Now, what was the response of TTP with respect to the Lal Masjid incident? So there were certain terror attacks that TTP had conducted. The very first involved the kidnapping of Pakistan's ambassador to Afghanistan, Tariq Azizuddin. Then Lieutenant General Ahmed Beg, who was the senior most Pakistan army official who had been killed in a terror attack. Then, if anyone follows cricket, they would very well be aware of that fact that Sri Lankan cricket team was attacked in 2009. Then TTP militants had also attacked GHQ Rawalpindi, and then this very infamous army public school attack, which killed about 132 children. In fact, today is the 9th anniversary of army public school attack by TTP. And then almost on, monthly basis or weekly basis, we can see that soldiers in Pakistan army are being captured and beheaded by TTP terrorists. So in response to this, what Pakistan army did was they launched 4 major operations: Operation Rah-e-Rast in 2009, Operation Rah-e-Nijat again 2009, Operation Zarb-e-Azm, and Operation Raat-ul-Fasad. So this is an attack on Sri Lankan cricket team. Now, what happened was, though these operations were to some extent successful in curbing the threat of TTP, but what it led was that it had displaced about 2.5 million people during Operation Rah-e-Rast, around 1 million during Rah-e-Nijat, and Operation Zarb-e-Azm, around 1 million people were internally displaced in Pakistan. So these were the Pashtun people. So apart from that, there was damage to life and property due to the air and drone strikes. And most importantly, due to the landmines which were placed by the Pakistan army to counter the TTP threat, there have been reports almost on weekly basis that people have been killed due to landmines. So again, in 2021, a group of lawyers in Peshawar High Court had filed a petition saying that around 800 people were killed only in South Waziristan for about 178 mine blasts over the years. So according to Manzoor Pashtun, who is currently heading the Pashtun Tahaffuz movement, he said that 30,000 Pashtuns have gone missing. So there is also a case of enforced disappearances. So what this has led is that it has led to anger and discontent among the Pashtun people. So what I believe that to understand this region, PTM is probably the key. I'll just give a brief about what PTM is all about. PTM is a peaceful civil human rights movement based in Pashtun. The leader of the movement is Manzoor Pashtun. It draws its ideology from Bacha Khan, and those who are familiar with Indian history, they would know that Bacha Khan was also called as Frontier Gandhi. So there was this triggering point when Naqibullah Masood, who was a 23-year-old aspiring Pashtun model, he was killed in an extrajudicial killing by SSP Rao Anwar, which became a big issue. He was also a social media celebrity. So there are a few slogans of PTM, which I think it is important to understand in the current context what PTM has been able to achieve in these years. So there is a statement, "Ye jo dehshat gardi hai, iske piche vardi hai," and "Da Sangha Azadi Da." So if any one of you has been following the protest by PTI members after the arrest of Imran Khan, they would have definitely heard these two slogans being raised by the PTI supporters. So, this has been the impact of PTM, that a movement which is not even covered in the mainstream media is garnering support from, not support I'll say, but it has been gaining popularity. Now, this statement, "La ro bar yo Afghan," which means Pashtuns of lowland of Pakistan and highlands of Afghanistan are same. This is seen as the most problematic slogan by the Pakistani establishment. and they certainly believe that this is some sort of Pashtun nationalism. So Pashtun nationalism, by the way, is a long cherished dream of Pashtuns across the border to reunite the Pashtun land of Pakistan and Afghanistan, which was divided after the Durand Line Agreement. Mind you, no Afghan ruler, whether it was the monarchy, whether it was the communist government, or whether it is the terror regime of Taliban, they have ever recognized the Durand Line. Now, this is one of the jalsas of PTM, led by Manzoor Pashtun. And what we at IRF have done is that for our very first conference, in fact, I have been personally engaging with them, as I had informed earlier. We had the honor to have Sayyid Anwar Dawar, who is currently serving as the core committee member of PTM in Pakistan, for our very first conference. In fact, back in August 2021, when we had organized a conference on fall of Kabul, so Sayyid Anwar Dawar had agreed to join us, despite the threats that he would have faced because he had joined an Indian platform. And this is probably the only time that someone from PTM Pakistan has joined an Indian platform. I don't know whether it is going to happen in future. I have no idea. Then, so I certainly believe that this area has a huge impact, not only for Pakistan, but also for India. This region has seen many invasions. If you refer to the history books of India, Northwest Frontier Province has been an issue where all of our invasions have taken place through this place. And in fact, Dr. Ambedkar has also mentioned about this in his book, Pakistan or Partition of India. I think this is a very good book if someone is interested in understanding what has been the psyche of Muslim League and all the leaders at that point of time. I think this is a very good book that you can refer to. Then what is Pakistan's Pashtun challenge? Why we are very much interested in this area? Why not Balochistan? Why specifically Pashtun area? For one obvious reason is that I believe that Balochistan is also bordering with Iran, and the population is not that significant that can actually undermine the authority of Pakistan state. But when it comes to the Pashtun challenge, so Pakistan's biggest fear is that a strong government in Kabul would undo the Durand Line. In fact, in 1946 elections, which was seen as a verdict for the partition of India, it was only Northwest Frontier Province where the Muslim League had failed to achieve majority, and all other regions of undivided India, which were Muslim dominated, Muslim League was easily able to win elections. So in fact, the chief minister of this particular government in 1946 was Khan Abdul Jabbar Khan, who happens to be the elder brother of Bacha Khan. So why Pakistan is very skeptical about is that since PTM draws its ideology from the ideas of Bacha Khan, they see that PTM is basically taking over the charge of the movement of independent Pashtunistan. Then another issue that Pakistan confronts is the terror of TTP, Islamic State, Khorasan Province, Al-Qaeda in Indian subcontinent. All these have safe haven in Afghanistan and this region. So what I certainly believe is that in order to counter Pakistan as a traditional security threat, it should be imperative for us to understand what is the complexity of the region, what are the parties and members involved, and a significance importance not only for the Pakistan-Afghanistan region, but also for India. Now, is understanding Pakistan as a traditional security state enough? I mean, even if we are able to just imagine, I mean, I don't think that India has to do anything. The self-destructive path in which Pakistan is onto, I think that very soon they will have 3-4 different countries. I mean, we already have got Bangladesh. We may in the future have independent. I mean, I'm just assuming it. But the point is, will it really solve India's challenge? I mean, having an independent Bangladesh, having an independent Pashtunistan, having an independent Balochistan, will it really solve any problem that India is confronting now? In my limited understanding, I certainly believe that this is not going to be the case. So I have mentioned this point. The idea of Pakistan is something that we need to focus on. It is not that Pakistan, I mean, we are only focusing Pakistan as a traditional security state, but Pakistan is also an ideology. This idea of Pakistan goes beyond the border of Pakistan and has a very firm grip over Indian subcontinent. So there is this very popular political slogan which is still very common in Pakistan. Pakistan ka matlab kya? La illa illallah, meaning that there is no God only but Allah. And now, if I ask someone that what has been the causes of partition of this country, I mean, those who are well read, they would probably point out to Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, his Aligarh school of thought. But I think we need to go back bit back on this, and we need to understand what has been the source, or what has been the contribution of Wahhabi movement of the 18th century. So it was a trio of Shah Waliullah Dehlvi, Haji Shariatullah, and Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi who laid the foundation of the idea of Pakistan. I mean, they did not coin the term Pakistan, but the idea, the basic concept was very much in place, and modern day doctrine jihad, which ultimately led to the partition of India. So if we talk about the Indian subcontinent, there are basically 5 maslak, which basically refers to school of Islamic thought in Indian subcontinent. Out of this 5, one is of Shia tradition, and out of the other 4 are basically Deobandi, Barelvi, Ahle Hadith, and Jamaat-e-Islami. So all these 4 Sunni maslaks, Deobandi, Barelvi, Ahle Hadith, and Jamaat-e-Islami, have been inspired by the work of Shah Waliullah Dehlvi and also Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi. So this is a chart that I have prepared. So if anyone is interested in this subject, they can understand that how evolution of Islamic revivalism took place in India, and how these forms of Wahhabism are actually spread even till today. So I'll briefly touch upon Shah Waliullah Dehlvi. So he was basically an Islamic scholar who was born during the declining era of Mughal Empire, and which saw the subsequent loss of political power to Sikhs, Jat, Marathas, and Britishers. He was the progenitor of Islamic revivalism in Indian subcontinent. Then, for instance, I'll just quote few of his statements, which we can probably correlate with the idea of Pakistan. So he, in his Islamic proposal to Mughal King Ahmad Shah Bahadur, he had requested the king to issue stern directives in all Islamic towns to prohibit religious ceremonies of the infidels, such as holy and practicing ritual bath in Ganga. So recently, there is this very, I think I just came across this picture. So back in 2022, I guess, or 23, there was this directive issued by the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan, which had said that that they need to keep a distance from celebrating Hindu festivals of Holi on campuses. And then again, on the right-hand side, there is this picture of Durga Puja celebrations attacked by Islamists in Bangladesh. It happens probably, I think after 2013, it happens almost after every year. So I think this is something that we can correlate how the ideas of Shah Waliullah Dehlvi is still, inspiring these Pakistan state. Now, Sayyid Ahmad Khan, who happens to be, a student of Madrasa-e-Rahmiya. Madrasa-e-Rahmiya was basically Islamic seminary that was founded by Shah Waliullah Dehlvi's father, and also he also taught there. So Sayyid Ahmad Khan was also a product of this seminary. Then there is another point that jihad, he believes that jihad is the cornerstone of all social political equilibrium. And he believed that Ghazni was probably the greatest Islamic ruler for successfully launching jihad in North India. And by the way, with respect to Shah Waliullah Dehlvi, I have specifically referred to the works of Qiyamuddin Ahmad, who is considered as an authority of Wahhabism in India. There is this book, I think it is very much available openly. So if anyone is interested, they can refer to that. And by the way, he painted a very patriotic image of Wahhabism, that Wahhabism was actually meant to fight the Britishers. It was an anti-colonial struggle. Well, I basically disagree on this, because I certainly believe that we have to, at the end of the day, understand what were the objectives of this movement, what were the end results that they wanted to achieve. Was it independence of all, or was it establishing an Islamic caliphate? I think the answer is very much there in the book. So second person is Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi, and I am sure that Bhatia sir, since he had been there in Kashmir, so I think he would have definitely heard his name. So he was an Islamic preacher and jihadi who was born in 1786 in Uttar Pradesh. He was basically the progenitor of jihad in modern Indian subcontinent. And in fact, he had fought the famous Sikh against the Sikhs in the Battle of Balakot in 1831, where he was defeated and killed by the forces of Maharaja Ranjit Singh. So Aisha Jalal, who is a Pakistani author, there is this very good book that people who want to understand jihad in South Asia, they can refer to Partitions of Allah's Jihad in South Asia. So she noted this point that to this day, Balakot, where the Barelvi lies buried, is a spot that has been greatly revered by militants in contemporary Pakistan, some of whom have set up training camps near Balakot. If anyone remembers the Jabba Top airstrike, so they'll definitely recall the Balakot. So she further notes that Balakot's association with the idea and practice of jihad in South Asia was reinforced in 1990s when militants group set up training camps in its environment to prepare for the campaign against Indian security. Then again, what happened after Sayyid Ahmad Barelvi? It was the Ali brothers, not to confuse with the Ali brothers of Khilafat movement. They were a different set of Ali brothers, so they took forward the legacy. Then the Britishers realized about the threat of Wahhabi movement. They started tracking it down, and they were the first one who brought the sedition law to punish the Wahhabi network. And after the British cracked down on Wahhabis, the sympathizers of the cause decided to launch their own independent movement in order to avoid being labeled as the traitors by the colonial government. So again, this is a chart. Probably someone may be able to understand it more in a much better way. And with this, I'll go back to these four Islamic movements: Ahle Hadith, Barelvi, Deobandi, Jamaat-e-Islami, which still holds a very firm grip over Indian subcontinent. It may be a bit controversial, but I think it is important to understand what has been the contribution of these movements prior to the independence as well as post-independence. So Ahle Hadith movement was basically, I'll not get into the details because it will take a lot of time. So it is a Salafi movement, which it is basically the subcontinent version of the Salafi movement. And if you see that two major terrorist outfits, that is Lashkar-e-Taiba as well as Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, traces its ideology from Ahle Hadith movement. Then again, Deobandi, I'll not get into this detail. Deoband is a town in Uttar Pradesh. So Tablighi Jamaat has its roots in Deobandi tradition. Although it now operates independently, but still it maintains a very close tie with Deobandi ulema. Terror outfits like Taliban and Jaish-e-Mohammed also derives their ideology from Deobandi tradition. So you can see recently what happened was that Saudi Arabia had banned Tablighi Jamaat, saying that it is one of the gateway to terrorism. And immediately we can see that Darul Uloom Deoband, which is in India, Uttar Pradesh, it came in defense of Tablighi Jamaat. So we can see the close relations operating. Then this is another chart which talks about the evolution of Deoband. So first we had JUH, then after partition you had JUIP, the Jamiat Ulema-e-Islami Pak, and it further got divided into JUIF, which is currently led by Maulana Fazlur Rahman, who is also a patron of Jaish-e-Mohammed, and he has, by the way, also served as the chairman of the ruling alliance of Pakistan. Recently he was serving, and in fact some experts are also claiming that there are chances that he might even become the president of Pakistan. Only time will tell. And then second, you have JUIS, which was led by Maulana Samiul Haq. He was also called the father of Taliban. Now again, Barelvi movement, I'll simply point out to the fact that Tehreek-e-Labbaik Pakistan, which is an Islamist extremist political party, belongs to the Barelvi school of thought. So this is one this was one movement I think all of you would remember, that this infamous Charlie Hebdo controversial cartoon drawn. So in Pakistan, there were widespread violent protests. So it was led by TLB. Now, coming to the case of Bangladesh, I think I'll explain the aspect of Jamaat-e-Islami from the case of Bangladesh. So I'll not cover the ideological aspects of Maulana Maududi. I think it is very much, otherwise it will become a presentation of more than 2 hours. So I'll rather restrict myself on the practical approach of Jamaat-e-Islami in today's time. So this picture that you see on the left is the picture which was from the recently concluded Cricket World Cup, which unfortunately we lost. And there was large mass screenings of the final match between India and Australia in Bangladesh. And you could see that people were passionately cheering for India's defeat in Bangladesh. And if you hear the interviews after this match, you could easily sense out the anti-India sentiments in this country. And on the right, you'll see this picture is of the massive rally of Jamaat-e-Islami in Bangladesh. In fact, as we celebrate the Vijay Divas today, let us not forget the genocide of the innocent millions of Bangladeshis who were killed by Pakistan Army. And it was Jamaat-e-Islami who was the genocide enabler at that point of time. So it is, the funny part over here is, or probably the concerning part over here is that Jamaat-e-Islami today is probably one of the most political party in Bangladesh after Awami League and BNP. And this is something that we need to understand, that on one hand, we had India, which played the most crucial role in helping the liberation of the country, which is, I don't know, for some reason is considered in a very negative way. And India is seen as a negative force. On the other hand, a party that was responsible for the genocide of innocent Bangladeshis is hailed as a hero in Bangladesh. So we had... back in 2022, we had this International Counter-Terrorism Conference where we invited Dr. Mubashir Hassan, who is an expert on radicalization in Bangladesh. He mentioned that 75% of the arrested militants in Bangladesh were from middle and upper middle class families. Only 94% of them were between the age of 18 to 40. And majority of them studied in secular institutes and were engineers, businessmen, teachers, and IT experts. They hailed from family backgrounds where their fathers were either in military, judiciary, were either politicians or high-ranking government officials. There is a strong this is his statement that I'm quoting, there is a strong anti-Indian, anti-Hindu sentiments since 2013. Every year, Hindus are attacked in various parts of Bangladesh. So Jamaat-e-Islami is basically the torchbearer of this radicalization. It has promoted various madrasas, and in fact, all major terrorist outfits like Harkatul Jihad al-Islami is considered Harkatul Jihad Islami, and which is considered as the arm of Al-Qaeda in Bangladesh. Then we had JMB, Jamaatul Mujahideen Bangladesh, closely affiliated with Lashkar, and then Neo JMB, which is closely associated with ISIS. They all enjoy the patronage of Islamic State or Jamaat-e-Islami as well as BNP. Now, Jamaat-e-Islami, there is one interesting point I think that we all need to be aware of, this fact that Jamaat-e-Islami has close ties with PFI and Sunni, and in fact when PFI was banned, then it was Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, and I repeat, Jamaat-e-Islami Hind, which had protested against the ban. So there you can see, this was the report of Ministry of Home Affairs that JMB was planning a jihadi network in South India, and then there you find Jamaat-e-Islami Hind president. He had given a proper statement where he categorically rejected the ban on Popular Front of India, PFI. We had the honor of inviting Dr. Anshuman Behra, who had joined us for this Jihad conference. He has been studying Bangladesh for more than 12-13 years. So he said that Jamaat-e-Islami Hind should not be considered different from PFI. In fact, PFI is registered in Delhi under the banner of Jamaat. So I was also not aware of this fact. So basically, what my conclusion from this Pakistan front is that the idea of Pakistan can be defined as a fascist ideology which has its roots in Wahhabi movement. The spawns of Wahhabi movement, who were inspired by the teachings of Shah Waliullah Dehlvi, took forward the legacy of anti-Hindu, anti-Shia, and anti-Ahmadiyya mindset. It still pushes for two-nation theory. The cornerstone of this ideology is violent jihad and Ghazwa-e-Hind, or Islamization of subcontinent. So, as I've said earlier, in order to counter Pakistan as a traditional security threat, the focus should be on Pashtunistan. And if we really want to understand the threat of Pakistan as an ideology, then we have to look inwards and see these spawns of Wahhabism and what are being taught in all these seminaries. So I think this is the two-way approach which Indic Researchers Forum would agree to, and we would go ahead with this approach when understanding Pakistan. Now, this is a very good representation. So recently, Ahmadiyyas are not Muslims. This was a statement given by Jamiyat, which actually backed the statement of Andhra Waqf Board. So Center had actually opposed it. Then you can see in Pakistan, right picture, that in Pakistan, most says Ahmadiyyas are not Muslims. And again, in Bangladesh, we can see that Bangladesh is criticized for failing to protect Ahmadiyya Muslims. So this idea, so-called idea of Pakistan that I am proposing, I think this is very much still evident in all these countries. Now I'll directly jump to the China and internal security front. I think any discussion on China and internal security without having a discussion on artificial intelligence data, I think it's complete waste, and it is going to be catastrophic if we are not going to focus on these aspects. So I certainly believe that, and in fact, China has already been discussed by General Bhatia and General Chauhan sir. So I'll just restrict myself to this aspect of artificial intelligence and data. So I certainly believe that our ability to handle the China and internal security front will solely depend on as to how we perform in the era of technopolar world, or a world order where it is going to be technology dominant. I don't know, technopolar world is a term that is widely accepted, but still I'll go ahead with that. So this is going to define the future of our country. Now, you can see these were the four industrial revolutions. So currently we are in the fourth industrial revolution. We have the field of AI, big data, cyber security, and it is not optional, but it is the only way to ensure national security. So there is this report that came up just few days back, in fact. So Meta says that China is trying to stop Chinese accounts from swaying Indian and US elections. So the point here is, it is not this is not the bigger problem that China is interfering in our elections, but the bigger problem here is that we have to depend on a tech company to tell us that we are being attacked. So just imagine, as Sir has said, that we need to focus on our vulnerabilities. I think this is probably the biggest vulnerability that we are currently facing. We absolutely have no control over our data. and it is the tech companies who are actually under the control of US government. They are telling us that, okay, look, your account has been compromised, your elections are compromised. China is trying to manipulate your behavior. So next, this is a report that came up. China should break up the Indian Union. This was a statement that was echoed in Chinese think tanks and their publication. So it cannot be published without the approval of the Chinese authority. So you really can understand what China is up to and what problem we are going to face. Now, there is this report by Gateway House of India. It is a think tank which was published in 2020. So before I jump onto that, there was this. The last decade had seen the investments from Chinese companies into India over 5 billion USD in 2018. Alarming are the investments by China's powerful BAT, that stands for Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent, in soft power projects in India, that is artificial intelligence, the Internet of Things, and fintech. That's because PLA and CCP has a symbiotic relation with China's BAT, the makers of strategic domestic and overseas investments. So India had banned TikTok, if you remember, after the Galwan Valley clash. But was that ban related to understanding that what threat China possesses in terms of data, or was it as a reciprocal effort to what China had done in the border region? I think everyone knows the answer, what has been the thinking behind it. So what Chinese people have been doing, that they now realize that there is restriction on Chinese investment after the Galwan Valley clash. So now they are investing in India through third world countries from third countries like Singapore, and Chinese tech firms invest in Indian startups. Since the funds come from a third country, it does not come from a Chinese investment. This was a statement mentioned in AI and Future of Power by Rajiv Malhotra. And still, if we see the number of smartphones that we Indians use, it is still dominated by Chinese hardware. Now, okay, so after today, today we need to realize one fact, that all the critical infrastructure in India is moving towards data-driven technologies. So therefore, countries like USA and China having access to huge database of Indians is going to be the biggest national security threat of the 21st century for India. If we understand it from the geopolitical context, I think we need to realize this fact that India is too big of an elephant that can be tamed by either China or West. They did try in the case of Japan and Israel. I think West was equally successful in that. But India is no Japan, no Israel. We are way too big to be tamed. And they realize this fact that India is an ascending political power, and it not only poses a threat to China, but eventually also to the hegemony of the West. So I think therefore we can see how Khalistani terrorists are finding safe haven in West. If the West can use these Khalistan issue to keep India under the check, then why can't they use our data against us? So this is something that I have been telling my colleagues as well, that now imagine a scenario that someone from my generation, I don't know, probably Satya, Argish, or any of the interns might in the coming years, 20, 30 years down the line, will become the prime minister, national security advisor, politicians, bureaucrats in the government, and they all have been, including myself, we all have been using these WhatsApp, personal messaging app, WhatsApp, you talk about Instagram, Facebook, and all these data that we have is with the American companies. So if we believe that these companies are actually giving all these services for free, I think we are gravely mistaken. These are the apps which are not free. It comes at the cost of our data, which will be in the hands of the Western countries or the Chinese companies. And just imagine that they will be blackmailing us with what our personal data is. And I certainly believe we all are humans. We are bound to make mistakes. So this is something that we cannot avoid. So there is this another statement by Rajiv Malhotra sir's book. American primarily owns the software algorithms, databases, and operating platforms. The hardware is mostly Chinese. India is at the mercy of their technologies, and foreign owners of AI and digital platforms have no legal accountability in India. In fact, recently, just 2-3 days back, European Union has come up with its AI, artificial intelligence law, and India has yet to have a strong, data protection law. So these were some of the conferences related to artificial. This is going to be our approach: artificial intelligence, cyber security, space warfare. This is an area. This is one area that we are going to focus. Most of our research will be focused on this aspect. So we already had Brigadier Ramesh Balan, who had talked about AI and India-Japan cooperation, Jasim Haji, counter-terrorism conference. Then we also had a session on decoding space terrorism. Then we invited Paul Szymanski, who has 48 years of research experience in space warfare. So this is one area that we will be migrating in the coming years. I mean, it will take us time. We have the limited resources, but eventually 5, 7 years down the line, this is going to be the core area where we are going to focus as a think tank. So I've been getting a lot of stick for saying this, but I think that this is probably the right platform to say this. So I'll quote Machiavelli here. Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved. So I must tell you that I am talking this in the context of international relations and geopolitics. Since I am a realist, I firmly believe in this statement. So there is no concept of morality when it comes to hard power. So if we expect our adversaries to accept that, okay, India, you can peacefully exist with us. So I think we are gravely mistaken. So we need to have this policy of iron fist in velvet gloves. Thus, respect and fear are synonymous to each other in geopolitics. This should be our approach to meet our national security goal. And finally, there is a statement. If I have to briefly talk about what Indic Researchers Forum is, it talks about civilizational security and at the same time statesmanship. So there was one brigadier, I won't name him. He gave me, while having a candid discussion with him, he talked to me about one thing that, Yashas, you need to remodel your thinking as a statesman and not as a political leader. So what he meant by is that a political leader will not look beyond 5 years, but a statesman will have a vision for next 100 years. And this is something which I certainly believe that China has excelled, and we are, our election system or whatever you want to say this, but this is one area that we definitely lack. So this is going to be one of the thought behind the, working of Indic Researchers Forum. And I do hope that I'll continue to gain your support. So with this, I end this presentation. Thank you.